Pipebomb Radio. What? With your hosts, Felix Olmedo and Austin James.
This voice, this is power. In anybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe bomb. It's showtime! Woo!
Good evening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that new intro we've got. Welcome to another edition of Pipebomb Radio tonight on this Tuesday evening. You know, with the new spring weather coming in, allergies are just kicking into high gear for a lot of people. Not just me, but, man, it's getting crazy over here in California. I can only imagine how weird the weather is in New Orleans, thanks to you.
It was terrible. Already coming down with something, I already know it's crazy. It's always changing.
Well, you know, it kind of bounces back and forth between cold and hot and cold and hot and cold and hot. I wish I would have just made up its mind already.
Last week, it was 2 weeks ago, it was 80 degrees one day, and then literally a day later, it dropped down to 45. A day later, because it rained. That's how crazy Louisiana is. You just take its meds.
Well, you just better hope it don't get crazy like that for WrestleMania coming up in a couple weeks. It's closing in on that time, man. You excited?
I don't care if I have flu or not. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Well, is the Mercedes-Benz is a Superdome? Well, I don't know what you call it, but is it open or is it got like a dome top or something?
It's like a dome. It's like a huge dome. With the
place in Jersey, it was open. Obviously, that's why it was colder and you know what out there. But tonight's guest is coming back to the show to talk about some new updates he's been up to, new things he's been up to, new creations. That not only he, but also Austin. He's been working with Austin about this, and he's going to come on and talk about all that. Him and Austin are going to mention a little bit about that, and he's got a lot to talk about. Who am I talking about? Austin's buddy, Mr. John Paul LeBlanc. Tell us a little bit about Mr. LeBlanc, that for those who missed the last show we had him on.
Well, he's actually, he travels, like I said, from pillar to post in the post that I did on Pipebomb Radio today. He travels everywhere across the South region just to take pictures of the wrestlers. It's some nice action shots for those that might have actually, missed the show or just want to actually relive it after they went to it. And it's also going, hand in hand for actually promoting the wrestlers on the new Gulf Coast Wrestling Review website for GulfCoastWrestlingReview.webly.com. They can check out. And there's there's pictures of every single promotion from wrestlers to anything, and it's just really good. So I think it's going to change a lot of stuff for the South independent wrestling, community, because it's a free promotion, and whoever's on there, wherever promotion's on there, every single wrestler that wrestles at that place gets promoted, to when whoever wants to go see them on the site.
Well, there you go. And before we go ahead and get in contact with Mr. LeBlanc, I wanted to get your opinion a little bit on, we'll just talk briefly about Raw real quick. What did you think about it?
Raw was I think it was really good. It was WrestleMania just looming in just 4 weeks, is it? Daniel Bryan, and I told you, and I was telling you ever since for the past many months, that Daniel Bryan, no matter how it might look, he would have made his entrance, where it's possible, like right now, entrance into the main event WrestleMania. Some way, somehow, I knew he was going to get it. And the way it's going to go down now is if he beats Triple H WrestleMania, he will go on into the main event match with Batista and Randy Orton to battle for the WWE title. And I promise you, I knew that from the very beginning.
Okay, I'm not arguing that fact. I'm just saying at this point.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying. I'm right.
Nobody knew exactly if it was going to work or not. If they were actually going to listen to the people, or wait until after WrestleMania before they finally step into a new gear and do something with it. Because for those who missed it, you didn't see something. I don't think I recall in the 20 plus years of Raw that. Well, I've seen walkouts, but the ring filled with fans. And some WWE workers, of course, and of course the sign guy. He was there too.
I seen a guy in the back. He was standing on his phone, like he's on Raw and he's on his phone in the middle of the ring while everything's happening with Daniel Bryan and the story, he's on his phone in the back, just on like texting or taking pictures of something in the middle of the ring. I mean, I guess it's a cool time to take advantage of it. But I mean, you're already getting a lot of publicity while you're on air, you're on camera. You can just go back and check it out when you get home. But he's on his phone the entire time, not really taking advantage of the opportunity. But he's in the ring with Daniel Bryan on Monday Night Raw and Friends of Authority, 4 weeks away from WrestleMania. What is he doing? That pissed me off. I wasn't even there.
You know, I think at this point they have to really acknowledge how crazy this Yes movement has gotten outside of WWE as well. It'll be interesting how they work out this matchup, and if they decide to. I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they won't. None of us really know what's going to happen, but I know a lot of us know what we want to see happen. Will Triple H put the kid over? I don't know. That's a good question.
Another thing that actually happened early in the night, my good friend Hulk Hogan, brother, came out and actually made an announcement that WrestleMania 30 will actually feature a 30-man Andre the Giant tournament, same type of battle royale actually. If for Andre the Giant, whoever wins gets the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy.
You know, they did something like this at WrestleMania 4. Battle Royal to win some sort of trophy, and I think this is their way of compensating for the fact that people have been missing the Money in the Banks at WrestleMania, and that really it allowed more people to participate in the show. And I think now with this 30-man Battle Royal, I hope they do it on the show and not the pre-show. It'll allow a lot more guys to actually get a payday for WrestleMania, which I think they're definitely going to be thrilled about. People
that we might not have seen in a while might be returning. Or legends of wrestling, like from WWE.
You know, I heard people talking about legends. Do you think that's a good chance we might see some people, wrestling legends from WrestleMania's past come up?
Why not? Why not? It has to happen. I mean, how else? The WrestleMania 30 celebrating 30 years of WrestleMania in WWE history. So why not have just a mix of different people they're going to have the chance of doing the show at the same time? You know, it's because you're not going to. If they didn't have this battle royal, how else would they kind of fit different people on besides the backstage segments to have people actually come out?
I wonder too at this point if they're going to actually allow Hogan to get a little physical, because I know that they weren't really pushing it, but they've been teasing it. They've been teasing it a little bit, especially last night with the Wyatt family, and then I go and I read about. I'll mention this other comment, and we'll call Mr. Leblanc, but people are hinting around the fact of that there is a possibility, as you've mentioned it as well, Austin, that with the final coup de grace, so to speak, of the Hall of Fame would be the fact, since they're hinting about Randy Savage, that maybe they'll go ahead and put him in this year.
I told you. I know it's going to happen.
It hasn't happened yet, but people are talking about it. I know,
but I'm telling you. Just because this is, not since I'm always right, but probably about 99% of the time, Randy Savage will be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, just like Daniel Bryan will go into the main event of WrestleMania and become WWE champion in front of 75,000 people chanting yes. I cannot wait to be a part of that.
Now, whether or not they do it, will they do it the way Randy wanted it, or will they do it on their own accord, which it's been talked about. I don't know how it'll happen, if they'll do it the way he wanted it to be done or not. But we'll see what happens, where it goes. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and talk to Mr. LeBlanc here, find out what he's doing, what he's up to, what he's going to be doing WrestleMania weekend, because I have a feeling you're going to be around him, and he'll probably put you to work.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I'm going to be working when Hulk Hogan returns to be the host of WrestleMania 30. It's He might just did that, but yeah, that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
Did you just do that right now?
It's going to be phenomenal. Yes, I did. Hulk Hogan. I'm not much of a Hulk Hogan fan. Just I guess you can kind of feel the same with me. That Hulk Hogan brings a different kind of like aura to when he walks out that nobody else brings.
Well, I mean, I was a Hulkamaniac briefly in my time, but I obviously moved over to The Undertaker and Randy Savage and a lot of the heels growing up. But
so
that's another story. We'll talk about. Maybe we'll save it for a Friday, for a Saturday show. We got Saturday Night Slam coming up this weekend. But anyways, here we go.
Yeah, love Saturday Night Slam.
Good evening, John Paul speaking.
Hello, sir. This
So
is
proper.
Felix in Austin with Pipebomb Radio. How you doing?
Hey, Felix, how you doing? Hey, Austin, how you been, brother?
Good evening, John Paul. This is Austin James speaking.
I think you figured that out already.
Of that.
Oh, I didn't know. You're so prim and proper about it. They come on that at school.
Understandable.
But we want to welcome you back to the show to join us. And I know Austin's been itching to ask you some questions, so I'm going to let him fire away first. So go for it.
So basically, you've actually been talking about, for the past month, to the Gulf Coast Wrestling Review website is like finally up, and just tell people what exactly entails in this phenomenal website of a monstrosity.
Oh, yes, that was quite the undertaking. Well, let me start off with basically saying that if it wasn't for you guys and y'all's last interview, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. I've received an outpouring of support from our local wrestling community, and it made this website all that more possible. Gulf Coast Wrestling Review is probably the place to go to see all your top independent superstars in the Gulf Coast region, from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and hopefully soon foraying into Alabama. Almost up to 15 promotions by the end of this month coming up that we will be covering and providing basically promo photos. It's a showcase site, for Four Corner Photography, and there's no animosity at all. It's very unbiased, and it's a place to go for fans to see other wrestlers from other places that they probably wouldn't get a chance to. All with the help, of course, of Austin James and his diligent support.
Yes, diligency. But I was gonna say you might just need a morphing machine, a cloning machine, because I think you're too many places at the same exact time. You're everywhere. Like every single week I see you doing something associated with wrestling, just taking pictures of the wrestlers put on the website and stuff.
Well, yes, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm quite diligent in my support for the indies. It's been quite a month here. The last 3 months have actually been just chock-filled with every weekend with a great show in a different part of the country here. And plus some of the best shows will be coming in within the next 2 weeks to New Orleans, Louisiana, and I'm right in the middle of all that and can't wait for it to go down.
Oh, God. That's going to be scary. Can't imagine how these people flying in from like 70 billion different countries in the world just to go to WrestleMania. New Orleans is going to be packed. That's scary.
70 billion
it's already
different
packed
countries.
already.
I didn't realize we had that many countries.
No, 74,000 different countries we have in the world right now. It's crazy.
And there's 48 states minus Hawaii, which will also be in attendance.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah. WrestleMania is definitely a fun place to go to. Not going to talk about the 6 times I've gone, but Mr. Leblanc, I wanted to ask you what. Shush. I'm trying to talk to our guest here. Don't be rude. What do the different companies actually call you or reach out to you in some form or fashion to come down and do the pictures for their shows, or how does it come about that you start to work with these different companies, because you work with quite a few different wrestling companies itself? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm hoping it is by good reputation in the locker room with my professionalism. First and foremost, that allows me back into each and every locker room in all these promotions. Once again, it's a respect level that that I have for the sport, that I have for the workers, that I have for the promoters. I'm not out there to, push that one person. I'm out there to push everybody. I want everybody to get, their fair share of the Gold Cup around here. We seem to keep blowing up here in the South with a lot of independent wrestlers, a lot of independent promotions. We all seem to be getting along somewhat all right between each other. I try to stay out of almost all that locker room brouhaha, but, every once in a while you got to catch up in the middle of it.
So actually in a few weeks, I think it's 4 weeks until WrestleMania. No, I think it's before WrestleMania. Mid-South Legends Fan Fest It's actually going to be in New Orleans at the. Now, which center is it? Where is it going to be at?
Well, it's actually in Chalmette, Louisiana, which is just about 15 minutes north of New Orleans. TCW and the Mid-South Legends Fan Fest is going to be huge bonus for the WrestleMania folks here at the weekend. It all really kicks off with Jim Ross at the House of Blues and his one-man show Thursday night. And a lot of folks are headed that way to see that little thing that it's basically every WrestleMania he puts this on, and a lot of the top names show up. Mick Foley is one of his staunch supporters over that way. And, with Mid-South, just our whole community is Mid-South. And TCW has done a outstanding job this year, and the only year from what I understand, because we'll be bringing in Cowboy Bill Watts, the CEO, the Mastermind, Kamala, Midnight Express with Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey, and Jim Cornette. Rock and Roll Express will be in town with the Fantastics. And I do believe this has been the first time since those guys have been together in quite a while. Superstar Bill Dundee, he was one of the ones that brought in the rock and roll, brought all the young guys to bring in the young men, to bring in the young ladies, to bring in the young men. He was smart enough to catch on to that. Pork Chop Cash will be in attendance. Mr. Olympia, Mr. Wrestling 2, one of my favorites from when I was a youngster. And you're looking at Bushwhacker Luke and Dark Journey, who used to be the valet for the Missing Link.
Now, were you actually interested in professional wrestling before? I mean, when you were really young, was your family into it?
I was lucky enough that almost all the male members of my family were into it. My grandma couldn't stand it. It was it was the worst thing on TV, and they was trashy, and I was trashy for watching it. But all the men folk in my family, my grandfather, my dad, who still goes to shows with me every once in a while. We just came back from Battle Zone in McGee up that way last Saturday, and all my stepbrothers. I had 3 stepbrothers. I got male cousins out the yin yang. They live up that way in Illinois, and I have just been lucky enough to have always gotten their magazines when I was young, and their videotapes, and it was just a very big family ordeal for me. It was something that my dad would get in the truck, come get me from school on Friday afternoon, and we'd haul butt somewhere to go see some wrestling somewhere. Shreveport, Monroe, Jackson. You just name the little places that me and him have gone to go see wrestling. It's just outrageous.
Now,
I guess I got that traveling blood from him.
I mean, you've been a lot of places. Did you actually, with photography, were you interested in photography before? Wrestling. Were you actually taking pictures of other stuff besides wrestling before you actually kind of got this little thing going here with some full corner photography going around the States taking pictures of the promotions?
Oh, you always start off as a fan in the audience. It's when I was little, it was the point and click photography with a 35 millimeter. You went down. You had to wait 3 days to get your photos back, and I was real big on the pen pal scene, so I had to make a lot of doubles and copies and send them off to all my friends, and that way I got to get a little bit of wrestling from wherever they were at, and the Mid-Atlantic area, Florida Coast, Gulf Coast wrestling, NWA Georgia, places like that were really big, and that's, I guess, kind of what started it all right there. I guess Pen Pals is now Facebook, and it's almost instantaneous. So
it's a good thing you didn't say MySpace.
Pardon?
It's a good thing you didn't say MySpace.
That's wild. That's almost bringing it back to mail.
You should start that again. You should have your own mail system because Facebook too. There's Facebook, Google Plus, and Pinterest where you can actually check out all of Felix's pictures of his garden and his vegetable garden. They post me updates all the time. But
here we go.
with social media, you can do a lot of stuff. I mean, with this, it's free promotion for wrestlers because I mean, you're not getting paid anything to do this, I don't think, and the wrestlers aren't paying you to put these pictures up on the website. This is like free promotion, like promoting all these wrestlers and just what they do, so other people can catch an eye on them.
That's it. It's a support thing, you know. Definitely want to get the word out there for these guys so they can raise up to the next level. And you know, one of these days we'll see them on TNA. One of these days we'll see them on WWE. You know, Lord willing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts about Paul Bearer finally being inducted into the Hall of Fame? I know you've met him a few times. Tell us your thoughts about Paul going in, and what was, did you have the pleasure of working with him, or did you just take a picture with him? How did that go about?
Oh, I was lucky enough to work a couple of the Wildcat shows here in New Orleans and the Power Slam shows in Mississippi with Luke Hawks and Wes Adams, and he was coming in to help those guys out and raise up a little bit, and I was, it was a very humbling experience meeting him. You know, he's very friendly. All the fans, all the young kids, all the old farts. You know, he shook hands with everybody. You know, there's a lot of folks out that way that remember him from his Percy Pringle days and the third days, and so whenever he became Paul Bearer, that was the most marketable thing that WWE ever came up with, and it ran for years. And I've never heard one person say a bad word about the man. So having a chance to work with him is really great. With him working in, going into the Hall of Fame this year, who do you think should be the one chosen to induct him? Some would say Undertaker, some would say Kane, maybe some would say somebody maybe, because they're not even really they're not recognizing his character in WCCW as Percy Pringle, or even when he was Percy Pringle in other places. But, I mean, who would you say would be the ideal candidate to induct him? I would have to definitely say Undertaker without a doubt. I mean, back when he was Texas Red, meeting Mark Callis, there was those times that, those years, I know he built a level of respect, and I know a lot of his respect goes to his elders. So I would definitely like to see somebody in the stature of the Undertaker bring in, Percy and Paul Bearer. I think that would be most fitting. That would be very historic as well, considering Undertaker never really breaks character during WrestleMania weekend, and to do something like that is unlike him normally. But for the situation, I think it would be right for him to do it. I just think it'd be pretty doggone cool, really, to see him come out and be part of the festivities on TV as opposed to backstage. Oh yes, highly, definitely. And with this entire I'm sorry, Gulf Coast Wrestling Review website, it's kind of like the message that Paul Bearer kind of had when he before he passed away. Except it's living on definitely like right now within this website here. That if there were the groundwork of the independent wrestling is basically this is like the groundwork for WWE and TNA, Ring of Honor, whatever, like all the big promotions, the big companies. There was no independent wrestling, there probably wouldn't be a WWE or TNA. And just this, what we're doing here, what you're doing here with Gulf Coast Wrestling Review.com, Weaver.com, is that you're putting these wrestlers on here for free. This is absolutely, like I said, nobody's going to pay for this. You're putting them on, and they're getting free promotion. And this is great. They're getting promoted, and other people are going to hopefully see them and realize what they have to offer. Most definitely. Like to see, a lot of the young guys, raise up in this business, just like everybody else. We just had the Gulf Coast Wrestling Reunion. One of our esteemed colleagues from Wildcat Sports, Buku Dow, he just received great honors and basically the Rookie of the Year for the Gulf Coast Wrestling. He was the most up-and-coming talent. I thought that was real great. He's been in the business 2-3 years now. He's seen TCW TV with Matt Riviera and Tim Storm up that way. He's definitely traveled with Luke as far as Philly and all the way over to Florida. to do some wrestling over that way. So it's nice to see somebody raised up from our neck of the woods and get the respect that they deserve from their esteemed colleagues, in this sport.
I always talk about Buku Dao because, he has, Buku Dao has everything to make he has a character that just makes him who he is. People know who he is once they see him because, he's Asian sensation. And he knows.
Now, when they hear him on our interview, I couldn't understand a word he was saying, and I think he was doing it on purpose or just to mess with everybody. Because I couldn't understand, and I think Kurt Matthews was actually listening in on the show, too, and he was like, oh, my God, what the hell is he saying?
No, he's Asian. You can't stand Asian. That's, I guess his language translates in the wrestling ring when he's wrestling, so that's when you can understand what he's doing. And that's why he's so impressive. He really has it. If he gets his chance, I can see him as a big part of WWE in the future. I swear to God. He has it.
Now, I've got a question for both of you. Austin, I think I've even told you this once, but maybe I didn't. I don't know if I posed the question to you. For both of you guys, after watching Lockdown this past Sunday night, I haven't really seen the Great Muta in action in many, 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 many years, since his days going back to NWA/WCW. Being that he's never really been part of WWE, do you think they should still acknowledge him and put him in their Hall of Fame, or no? And why?
Whew, that's a stickly one right there. Let's see. The last time I saw the Great Muta, of course, was probably IPPV out of Japan. Always and still is an icon in that country, and will always be remembered here along the lines of the great performers like the Great Kabuki and, even Pat Tanaka, who we just recently acquired down here in New Orleans with OWE, who's going to help train. But bringing it back to Muta, it's the Sting issue, too. It's the Sting was never a part of the WWE. Will he become part of the WWE? Would you bring in, Muta, who basically, now that WWE owns almost all the library in the world of all the wrestling that I grew up with, why not throw him in the mix? He was a great international star. He was up there with Ultimo Dragon. Everybody respected him, and it's a weird thing to bring up like that, because with WWE, I think it is a little bit of the who knows who remembers who. Yeah. And it's unfortunate like that. I just heard Carlos Colon from WWC in Puerto Rico just got inducted. And Carlos hasn't performed in a WWE ring since my grandpa was into wrestling, and it was a 10-minute rest hold and a headlock. So it's but it's always nice to see somebody who also brought in a second-generation star with Carlito and Primo, second and third generation, really. So, it really is a nod to the great Puerto Rican fans that are from the New York area that remember Pedro Morales, remember their international superstars.
Yeah, they did that for they inducted Abdullah Butcher, who was never in WWE. I don't think he ever stepped foot into a WWE ring. I think they can do it for the Great Kabuki and Sting. Sting, I think, has to be definitely in WWE Hall of Fame some way, somehow, even though he's never been in WWE. He's been in WCW, but I think he's a person that, foremost, really deserves to be in that Hall of Fame for all that he's done.
Well, that is definitely true. He has been one of the forefronts of the company that went head-to-head, toe-to-toe with McMahon, and, it was one of the reasons why everybody, not besides the NWO, but everybody remembers the black and white faced crow carrying vulture guy from the Rafter Sting. That made everybody stop, think, because he resunk his role in the company. So it was one of those things that, he's definitely up there with all the icons from that era. And if we're going to bring in people like that, there's WWE, like I said, once again, pretty much owns the whole library. Yeah. And if anybody nowadays wants to learn something about WCW, ECW, and all the greats that we had, WWE Network looks like the place to go.
So going into the future, where do you see full corner photography and Gulf Coast Wrestling Review going into the future? Where do you see it in like 5 years?
Whoo-wee. Lord. That would mean I would be traveling a lot more. I would like to see a little bit more of the... Pardon?
Instead of 100 different promotions. In 5 years, you're going to be traveling every single day.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, most probably. That's what I was just thinking. I have been looking at going to Texas more, getting outside of the Louisiana-Mississippi loop. I've been invited to Arkansas. It looks like possibly going into Dothan, Alabama, maybe hopefully around the Mobile area, Pascagoula, Florida area, just trying to get outside of what we normally do to add more to the website. Once again, it just takes a little bit more gas money, a little bit more time behind the wheel.
And didn't you actually...
I was going to ask you at this point, do you think that because you remember the territory days, do you feel that they could exist in today's age? And with the fact that there's so many different indie promotions now, it kind of does give you that territory feel, except for the fact that not all of them are on TV like they were back in the original territory days with, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling.
Exactly.
I think I said it was. And then, of course,
you were looking at AWA World Class Championship in Dallas. You had World Championship down in Houston with Paul Bosch. And, once again, if it wasn't for the TV, most of these promotions, even though they give you a great show, they give you the talent that provides the great show, that is one thing they are lacking nowadays is TV.
Now, it's an interesting question. Besides photography and wrestling, were you ever interested or ever had a little bit of interest to actually become a wrestler or a commentator?
Oh, once again, as I said before in our last interview, when I was younger, there was those aspirations, but it's one of those things where you have to be diligent about things, and it's one thing I wasn't diligent back then was on anything that had to do with a structure in an environment.
Well, aren't you doing DDP yoga?
Oh yes. I just recently got into the DDP yoga with my wife. She's had recently had bariatric weight loss surgery, so we've been doing the yoga. And believe me, it helps for a gentleman in his 40s with a little bit of a paunch to get on that DDP yoga and get that stretch in, especially for what I do running around the ring, duck walking and kneeling and crawling.
Hey, maybe you should become actually. I don't think there's ever a time for anybody to not do something. I know DDP yoga has resurrected so many people's careers, like Jake Robertson and Scott Hall, for example. So you don't have any aspirations at all just to maybe do a couple matches in the ring, but I'm sure the fans know who you are. You're out almost every single promotion that I'm in, well, at least I think around like 12 or 15 every single few months. And I think it'd be really cool to see you in the ring wrestling. Maybe we generally have a collection of wrestling masks. Play like a character once in a while.
Oh, well, shoot, that everybody tries to work somebody into the program somehow. And believe me, I'm just happy where I'm at right now, running around the ring, taking pictures.
Even that's dangerous too, because didn't you get I think something with your wrist or something last year at a Wildcat show?
Oh, last year at Wildcat's wrist and ankle. Mike Dell came over the top rope on me, and then I didn't have anywhere to go but close up into the ring, and he completed his turn over the top rope and came down and kind of landed on me, but, throw a little dirt on it, put some duct tape, it was all right after about 2-3 weeks.
Good deal. And as far as do you think, going back to the late 90s, between 97 to 2001, the Attitude Era, had it changed and went differently, and WCW actually put WWE out of business, do you think they would be successful today, or would they have eventually folded?
The way that company was being run, from what I understood, it was going to be self-imploding anyway. I mean, everybody tried to take a hold of it and steer it in a different direction. I do remember when Bill Watts took over, and he basically took the mats away, took the cold water out of the locker rooms, made the guys travel on a bus with no heat and air conditioning. And it was just, it was just brutal. But the man saved and made the company money. Was the product any worse? I mean, the boys were wrestling without mats a long time before that. So it was something that Bill Watts had touched on, and it was never duplicated again. Everybody else that seemed to have the company just unfortunately seemed to line their pockets. And it just didn't work out for the guys. And, a big major corporation that has many, many heads in it of the corporation, it just wasn't something that seemed cohesive.
So,
okay,
Gulf Coast Wrestling.
Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say Gulf Coast Wrestling Review. Let's go at that. If you want to actually, hold on, sorry. Hold on. So, if anybody, any fans actually want me to check this out, it's actually available right now, and the launch actually a few days ago. And Gulf Coast Wrestling Review.weebly.com. You can go check out every single promotion you want to. I mean, well, at least the 15 we have. I'm not going to say everyone just yet. I'm sure John Paul's going to get around to every single promotion in Louisiana, Texas, and into Mississippi sooner or later. But we have Wildcat, OWE, Power Slam, Elite, Pro Wrestling Ego. What else? GCW.
Yeah, we have Mississippi Wrestling Corps, Pro Wrestling Ego, Hurricane Pro Wrestling, OWE, and we're about to add in Battle Zone from McGee with a full roster here shortly. And Bayou Independent Wrestling will be in Brookhaven and Monroe soon, and hopefully in May 3rd, we'll be adding NWA Main Event.
Yes.
Looks like it's going to have a really big, huge show. They're bringing back NWA to Louisiana and Patterson, Louisiana, outside of Morgan City. And they'll be bringing us, if I am not mistaken, Brian Wilcott, Carson Houston, Ricky Starks, Daniel T., Buku Dow, Bolt Brady, and NWA female champion Barbie Hayden.
Well, we had most of those people on the show, I think. Carson, Starks, Wilcott, and Barbie.
Oh.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, but we have Buku Dow. We've got all those guys in there. Hilarious. We're trying to plan a whole entire podcast episode for Pipebomb Radio just with Starks, Carson, and Barbie. Because remember last year was a really cool moment when I think we were interviewing Houston Carson, and Starks called in and I like his grandma basically. And I think is that how it went?
Yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I believe Matt Lancey and Mike Dell are also that way, and I do want to give a shout-out to the new NWA Director of Talent Relations, referee James Beard. Looks like he has stepped up inside the NWA company, and congratulations on his brand-new book. I can't wait to read that. That's, referees are the third man in. They work just as hard as the guys in the ring sometimes to, compel the match through. And James Beard is one of the NWA referees that has pretty much seen it and been there and done it all.
He's been here for a long time. I mean, he's been here for a really long time in professional wrestling. I mean, I don't know if I think he soon should be honored too for referees, but not many referees actually get honored for anything. I mean, you have to. I haven't really seen, I don't know if you recall any referees getting into a Hall of Fame.
Oh, no, not that many. Not that many at all. Even though most of the referees do stay with the company throughout 10 to 15 to 20 plus years, I guess that's one of the unsung hero qualities. You're called often, but you're never oftenly called.
It kind of goes with you. Because, you do so much with taking pictures everywhere. You don't have to do this. You do it because I'm guessing you probably love it. You love to do it. You have a passion to do it. And that's kind of how all this is being created with the Gulf Coast Wrestling Review. .com with all the wrestling promotions they have up there, then full form photography, which is doing extremely well. I mean, there's so much stuff that's going on.
Oh, that is quite understandable. It's kind of, I was just thinking about that here earlier this afternoon. It's like, you know, in the wrestling photography community, I may actually be the lone wolf. A lot of photographers, they work for one company only, and I do believe that I filled a niche by being one of the only photographers that works for as many promotions as I do. My photos are seen on flyers, promos, on the merchandise tables, everywhere, and, you know, it's, once again, it's something, it's a drive, it's a passion, you know, and it's that willingness to step back and let that, you know, happen for those people to get in touch with their fans, and the promo photos to their, you know, to the people that want to see them.
Okay.
So,
and do you have any upcoming shows that you're going to, did you mention that already? Are you going to be up at some of these upcoming shows coming up, or is it all kind of WrestleMania up?
Do you have a minute for me to hijack your show?
Sure.
It looks like
everybody else has been doing that. We're all on SmackDown.
Well, it looks like WrestleCon is coming up with the weekend of the WrestleMania. The WrestleCon will be held at the Sugar Mill in downtown New Orleans, directly across from WrestleMania Access at the Convention Center. And we'll be having a Wildcats will be part of the deal over that way with Luke Hawks and them. The Ring of Honor show will be Saturday night, as Friday and Saturday Ring of Honor at the Ilario Center in West Wego. And they have been bringing in some of the top names, and it hasn't stopped, folks. We have Edge just newly announced to come into WrestleCon, Goldberg, Roddy Piper, Kurt Angle, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Greg Valentine, the 3D from the Team 3D from the Dudleys, DDP, of course, and Jake Roberts. You're going to see Shane Helms, SoCal Val, Velvet Sky, Matt Stryker, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Kazarian, Daniels, Cole Cabana, Brian Christopher, Terry Funk. The list goes on. I mean, it's crazy. Al Snow, Chris Hero, Adam Pearce, Angelina Love, Kevin Steen, Joey Ryan. The amount of stars that are going to be under one roof is just absolutely amazing. Also, sorry.
Okay, let me win the lottery first, because I really want to do all that.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
it's gonna.
The one I would like to see would actually be Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh yeah, Bobby will be on site along with Karen and Jeff Jarrett and Maurice, Tommy Dreamer, Masato Tanaka. Sid Vicious. I mean, the Honky Tonk Man. I mean, it's just getting huge for the WrestleCon folks. Also, that same weekend, we have Shimmer, which is all the top female wrestlers. They'll be having a show at Tulane. It's Saturday at 5. Saturday the 5th at 3. And there's over 113 girls on their roster. I don't know exactly who all is being finalized to be brought in, but anybody that's the who's who of female wrestling. And also Dragon Gate USA and Evolve will also be at Tulane April 3rd through the 5th. And they're bringing in such great stars as Chris Hero, Sema, Jigsaw, Lindsay Dorado, Sato Yoshino, Anthony Nese, A.R. Fox, Trina Michaels, Trent Beretta. I mean, their list is just huge also. It's just, this is like one of the best weekends in wrestling, for wrestlers and wrestling fans.
Will you actually get to be at WrestleMania?
I am actually skipping out of WrestleMania, and I'm going home to fall dead asleep right after WrestleCon. I will have been up 63 hours in a 72-hour span. So that's pretty much straight. I have all day Friday with the TCW Mid-South Legends Fan Fest. Once again, I'm going to be in full attendance. I've got my 8x10 promo photos from 1977 and 1984 ready to get signed, and I have the VIP pass that they offered, so we have 2 Q&As, one with the Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, and Jim Cornette, and then the second one will be with CEO Bill Watts, Cowboy Bill Watts. That's probably one of the best things I've ever wanted to put myself into, because, I mean, if you're going to get it straight from the horse's mouth.
That's right. That's a great deal.
Wow.
Sounds like you're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh my God!
Oh, geez. Well, they are bringing in a lot of talent also that way for the Legends Fest. They're bringing in SIWA, which is the Southern Independent Wrestling Association, are bringing in Buff Bagwell and Greg Valentine. RF Videos bringing in Tommy Dreamer and Caitlin. Cornette Collectibles will be there. SoCal Val is our host. SoCal from TNA, and their battle lineup is basically a who's who, with the Junkyard Dog Memorial Cup Battle Royale, which was announced months previous to the WWE Andre the Giant Battle Royale. Mickie James and Angelina Love will be in ring action. We have Scott Phoenix, Americos, and Tommy Dreamer versus Tim Storm, Matt Riviera, and Greg Anthony, and they'll be brought to the ring by Dark Journey. Superstar Bill Dundee versus King Shane. Rock and Roll Express will be in the ring with Genetic Perfection. Elijah Burke, everybody remembers him as TNA's Pope, will be going against Steve Anthony, Mr. 450 Splash, one of South Louisiana's top premier stars. And Chris Adonis, who was the Masterpiece, will be up against Lance Hoyt. And Saxon and Vordell Walker will be going up against Sigmund, Kincaid, and Roosevelt from TCW. So we have a great lineup just for the battle lines later on that evening after the Fan Fest.
Great deal.
Jesus.
You know, I wanted to say, Austin, did you have any final questions for Mr. LeBlanc?
That's it for me. I'm just trying to take in all this stuff that's happening in WrestleMania.
You should tell him to tag along.
Down here.
Mr. LeBlanc, you should take Austin along and have him tag along with you.
Oh, he would definitely need to bring in some a couple of notepads, a camera, some extra memory cards, a microphone. Yeah, we would keep him definitely busy with all the stars getting in some little short interviews for you guys.
That's something to think about, Austin.
Well, the reason why I say paramedic because, I mean, just going on, this some of the guys that he's named that I've always wanted to meet in my entire life, just meeting, you know, especially a person like Edge, who I admire a lot. I mean, there's so many people that are going to be here all at once at WrestleMania week. It's crazy, man. If you don't want to go out every, go different state to state to try to meet a wrestler, the time to do it is right now because everybody's going to be in one place at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is definitely a bonus.
WrestleMania week.
Yeah, definitely a bonus for all the fans in the surrounding area. I know a lot of folks are traveling in from out of country to see WWE, but it's always nice to know that there's a little bit something else out there for them to watch, and it's not too far away. 2 lanes, 25 minutes away from the Superdome. 15-20 minute trip out to the West Bank to the Ilario Center to see some Ring of Honor. It's a 15-minute shot right up to Chalmette to see something. It's a good chance to learn, a good chance to see something new or see something old that's reborn.
Yeah. You know, on behalf of Austin and myself, Mr. LeBlanc, we want to thank you for coming back and telling us how you've been doing and what's new and where you're going with it. And we wish you the best of luck on your continued journeys to these different companies and much more success and notoriety with your company as it continues to grow. And, you know, you never know. At this point, they always say never say never. You might get noticed by one of the big companies around, and they may hire you to come on as their photographer and start traveling with them. You never know.
You never know. Exactly. And I'd like to appreciate y'all gentlemen for giving me a holler, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say rest in peace to Billy Robertson, who just passed away recently. I know Austin and I know Chris Jones, and he was lucky enough to train through him, and I got to meet up with Chris Jones up here in Mississippi Wrestle Corps recently and talk a little bit about Billy Robinson and Catch As You Catch Can wrestling. And, you know, there's a competitor there that's, you know, going to be sadly missed. He was a pioneer, and he opened up a lot of people's eyes into the way of technical wrestling. He'll definitely be missed.
One of the greatest of all time. Perfectionist.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, Mr. Leblanc, I hope you enjoy your night, and we'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thank you again, Felix. See you soon, Austin.
No problem.
Take care, guys.
Take care now. Well, there you have it, folks. Mr. Jean-Paul Leblanc. He's keeping busy, doing different projects. You know, I don't see why they couldn't consider him for one of the bigger companies to work as a photographer. I mean, hell, they still have him. I think they still exist. I don't know. They used to be around ringside quite a bit way back when, but nowadays you don't see them very often.
They're all in black. They wear black T-shirts, and they're all dressed in black, and they're kind of go by the barricades. They do their best not to really get in the way, and then they try to stay behind the cameras. But you can still see them when the wrestlers go outside the ring. They kind of like brawl around. You can see them there. But there's a ton of them in New Japan. I mean, if you watch any New Japan Pro Wrestling match, you see like 15 of them just all around the ring.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you need to get your.
Well, it was nice of him to come back and tell us about what he's been doing and your project that you helped him with. And what's the name of the website again?
Gulf Coast Wrestling Review at .weebly.com, but it's not review with a REVIEW. It's REVUE. Really special so you can remember it.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something, Felix. You need to get yourself down here. It's 4 weeks away. You're not gonna be. Come on. Just sell your house and then come down here.
I don't have a house.
You don't live on the streets. You're on inside of a pail.
Trust me, Austin. If I had the money, I'd be down there and wouldn't even think twice about it. At this point, I have to accept the fact that I don't have it, so I'll have to wait until next year.
I'm going to have to accept the fact that I can't go next year because if Sting happens some way, somehow, makes his return to WWE, I'm going to have to find a way to get to WrestleMania 31, which will probably not be happening. And then you're going to have your guy in life. You've been doing for the past 6 months.
Mr. LeBlanc actually did mention something about Carlos Colon. They just announced him on SmackDown as going into the Hall of Fame. That's how I was like, wait a minute. When he said that, I was like, wait a minute. They didn't say anything about Carlos. Did he know something we didn't? And lo and behold, I go to one of the dirt sheets, and they mentioned that his name was announced at the taping for SmackDown. Yeah, the taping for SmackDown.
Why would they do that?
Carlos is going in to the Hall of Fame this year.
No, I'm not complaining that Carlos is going in. He definitely deserves it, like, a lot.
No, I know.
They usually wait, like, a few weeks before they make another announcement.
I think the fact that they're getting closer and closer, they're going to start to wrap it up and just talk about the ones that they've got, plus maybe 1 or 2 more. Most are expecting it to be Scott Hall and Mr. T.
Oh. Wait, how many were there last year? The Hall of Fame, there was Bruno, Mick Foley, Mr. T, Trish Stratus, Bob Backlund,
Donald Trump.
Bruno Sammartino.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was last year? Oh, yeah, and Bruno Sammartino. That's 7, I think, of the Hall of Fame guys. So right now you have Paul Bearer, Jake Roberts, Ultimate Warrior, Lita. Oh, I'm missing somebody.
Well, if you're putting in, there's Warrior, there's Jake, there's Lita, there's Paul. They just announced Carlos, and if they do Scott and Mr. T, that would be the 7 right there.
Okay. Cool.
But,
hope I'll be able to make it.
Some of them are wondering if Carlito is going to make his return to induct his father.
Maybe. I know. You have the entire Colon family there. You have Primo, Epico, both Matadors, Fernando, and.
Did you just call them the Colon family? That's the Colon.
I don't know. I don't understand say it in your Asian accent. I am saying Colon.
You probably do understand Buku down better than I do.
I do. I understand every single word you said.
I speak a different language, and I don't speak that language though. But Well,
they have seven matadors there too.
Yeah, we've actually been hinting around since last Saturday who our guest is going to be next Tuesday night. We said it was a former WCW, and I think even Austin had mentioned in the post, TNA, and I didn't realize it until I remembered. I looked back up on it and realized he did work for WWE, although brief, but he was there. And who am I talking about? The one and only Scott Hudson. He called Monday Nitro with Shivani, and I think at one point, what was the other guy's name? I can't remember his name, but anyways, he's worked with the three companies, WCW way back.
He was alongside Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, he's worked with Bobby too.
And
he called the final Nitro with Tony Schiavone. And he did work briefly with WWE during their invasion angle with WCW invading WWE, which, although fun at the time, many people crap on it because a lot of people felt it could have been a lot better. But, for what it was enjoyable. And that's all I can say about that.
Wait, I'm going to leave that. Do you think we should announce those? I know we have a guest on Wednesday too.
Not tomorrow. Oh, the following Wednesday?
Mhm. Then we have like a special guest.
You know what?
Then
we're going to hold off.
Well, we can. Yeah. Okay.
Let's hold off for right now, and I would say keep your eyes out on our Facebook page and so forth. We will be announcing a special guest joining us next Wednesday night. It's somebody you guys would never expect to hear from. Definitely from the new generation era of WWE. That's all I can say about that. Who is it? Well, you just have to tune in and find out. Keep your faces posted on Facebook, and we'll be posting who it is in the next couple of days. But as far as next week's go, I'm looking forward to speaking to Scott. Talk to him about what it was like calling the last Nitro for WCW, how emotional it could have been for him. Why didn't he choose to go to WWE? Is there reasons why, or what it was like working with Jeff and TNA in the early years?
Or how it was like working with Bobby Heenan. Without a doubt, I think in my mind, one of the best commentators of all time. Yeah,
very true. But going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun next week. As the month of March continues to roll on, WrestleMania is just a few weeks away. A lot of surprises in store. We'll keep you posted. Any final thoughts tonight, Austin, about tonight's show?
No, I have no final thoughts about tonight's show.
That's a first. Well, I guess at this point, on behalf of Austin and myself, we thank you guys for joining us tonight on Pipebomb Radio. Tune in next Tuesday night as we speak to Scott Hudson, and, of course, Saturday night as we talk about the week in wrestling and talk about lockdown that happened this past Sunday night.
Yeah.
So for now, I hope you guys enjoy your night. We'll talk to you guys all soon. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, Austin.
Good night.